Welcome to today's super absurd show. Every day, we're like high-end trash, with the sole mission to wreck our bodies and seek help to heal the scars. And so the cycle goes, and the week flew by. Annie clearly wanted more and wished there were more of these shows. Unfortunately, Ewan said he had to return to Russia for work, and they weren't sure when they would meet again. I'll miss you. Does that sound weird? Nope, not at all. Will you miss me, or my cash? Your cash, of course. Well, I like that. Annie was so open, not holding back at all, and while they were chatting, Ewan suddenly switched topics. He said if he got married here and became an American, he wouldn't have to go back home. Ewan proposed to Annie right there in bed. Talk about a surprise. Who would have thought Ewan was getting more serious? They decided to go for it. Getting married in Las Vegas is easier than grabbing fast food to just find any 24-hour chap. The task was completed in a mere few minutes, and then they returned to New York. Annie transformed into a rich wife and immediately quit her job. It felt luckier than hitting the jackpot, and everyone was celebrating her. Annie, brimming with girlish fervor, told her friend shared honeymoon in Disney's luxury suite. Despite working in nightlife, she's always harbored a princess dream. Now she finally realized it. She was indeed Cinderella. But one person was raining on her parade, her rival at the club. A colleague named Diamond's sister said this marriage wouldn't last more than 2 weeks. In the past, Annie would have been upset, but now the class difference was too stark. Annie became resolute, offering a farewell kiss that was neither gentle nor friendly, and waved goodbye. Bye-bye, see you later, you terrifying sprite. After that, Annie lived a dreamy life. The movie deliberately created a fairy tale vibe here, which sharply contrasted with the following story. It was simply ironic. But unexpectedly, the plot took a sharp turn, and this bright news quickly spread back to Russia. The man responsible for keeping track of Ewan in America received a calling from the other mother with questions. He was Ewan's godfather and had been his guardian since Ewan was 16. He never expected this kid would stir up such trouble in just 2 weeks and quickly sent 2 bodyguards to check things out. But Annie wasn't exactly a fool. She had been worried about this for a while, so she asked Ewan if he had mentioned her to his parents and whether they liked her, and just then, the 2 bodyguards barged in. They assessed the situation and realized it was serious. One kept an eye on Annie while the other rushed to verify the marriage certificate. Subtitles. Upon realizing the severity of the situation, it turned out to be true. He quickly took a photo and sent it to the godfather, who then forwarded it to Ewan's mother. Sure enough, the other side got quite emotional and had to leave work immediately to head to the mansion to set things right. Subtitles. When Ewan learned that his parents were personally coming to America and would arrive by noon the next day, he, who had been rebellious at first, suddenly felt panicked. He hurriedly threw on a jacket to run, but his wife Annie said he should wait while she changed, and without hesitation, simply said, "Just wait a second." Then she disappeared without a trace, leaving Annie alone in the mansion. What poor girl in her 20s had ever faced such a scene? She could only resort to throwing a tantrum, utterly helpless to control the situation. The 2 bodyguards even had the audacity to tie her up with the phone cord. She tried every method to break free and ended up kicking one bodyguard right in the nose, causing chaos until the godfather arrived 10 minutes later, bringing some semblance of order. Upon hearing Ewan had run away, she barely held it together. She called, but no one picked up. But this had to be resolved. She made it clear that this marriage had to be not a divorce, but a full annulment, and there was no room for negotiation. But Annie had just snagged a rich guy. How could she easily give that up? The godfather spoke coldly and directly, trying to wake Annie up, telling her fairy tales don't exist. A scheming woman was just trying to trick a fool. This trope was so stale, even the godfather couldn't be bothered to write it out, yet she couldn't awaken from her dream. Annie flaunted her wedding ring, trying to declare her, but before she could finish, the ring was snatched away because everything belonged to Ewan's dad, including her daughter, children not even worth mentioning. Her own daughter, her own daughter, her own daughter, her own daughter. Everything belonged to Ewan's dad, including that ring. Annie was now completely cornered. Her defenses had long been shattered, and she could only scream hysterically, causing fear to ripple through the room. Just then, a fancy scarf was shoved in her mouth, and once she finally calmed down, the godfather was ready to negotiate seriously. "I'll give you 5 million to leave my son. Such cheesy plots don't really exist." She was only offered a measly 10 grand to annul the marriage. Annie temporarily agreed, but made one request: she must meet Ewan first. Now everyone was on the same page, and they set off on a quest to find him. But where on earth was that poor kid hiding? From this moment on, the movie turned into a boring road trip to find him. The director purposely made it feel incredibly real, highlighting the absurdity and humor in the process. Don't be fooled by the bodyguards and the godfather. Even to find this little brat in the city, they only had the simplest methods, asking everyone from club to diner. Then they went back to her favorite pool hall from childhood, wandering around like fools asking about with photos in hand. As night fell and temperatures dropped, a kind-hearted bodyguard pulled out that scarf again, but Annie had a strong reaction. "Oh, not again. You are not shutting me," but her body betrayed her, so she hung the scarf around her neck in resignation. In the night of New York, these workers were called hungry, and it was just a mess. They almost had their car towed, barely escaping through brute force, and after a while, the driver couldn't handle it and just hurled in the car. Finally, they got her leader to nightclub, only to learn Ewan had just left 20 minutes ago. They hadn't found him, but had racked up more bills. All of their embarrassing situations kept reminding them of whether they were getting closer to the wealthy who bought their services, or sinking deeper into their traps. Eventually, Ewan's whereabouts finally emerged. He was at the very club where Annie used to work. Ewan was still hiding. He didn't forget to enjoy himself. When Annie and her crew arrived, Ewan was in a VIP room with his rival Diamond sister. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure not to forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.